Electrolysis is permanent unless you have a hormonal imbalance. You might have heard me say this before and didn't quite understand, so I'm going to explain what this means. I am not a doctor in any way, so I'm not going to go into detail about all of the scientific doctory stuff. I'm just going to talk about electrolysis, my personal experience, and what electrolysis says about hormone imbalances and having electrolysis done. I only have the training for electrolysis, so I can only tell you what my electrolysis training says about it and my personal experience as well, because I have PCOS, I've had electrolysis done, and I do need maintenance sessions. Yeah, if you have a hormone imbalance, you could possibly need maintenance sessions like I do. When I say maintenance sessions, like a top-up session, people misunderstand and think that you're gonna grow half of your hair back, but that's not the case. A top-up session is a session that you decide if you want it. It's to treat a few strands of hair that you could possibly grow through. These strands of hairs aren't hairs that were treated before within your journey. They are new hairs that grow from different follicles because your hormones are fluctuating. There's an imbalance there, and as that happens, new hairs are growing through. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to go into the androgens and how it affects your follicles and all of that stuff. This is just the basic explanation that I can tell you. In a lot of my electrolysis textbooks, there's a table which I did not memorize in any way, but it shows every body part and approximately how many hair follicles are on each area. And there's a lot per centimetre. So for the chin, there's about 500 alone. They're not all growing at the same time, they go through cycles. And when you have a hormonal imbalance, that's when you're growing new hairs that weren't treated before from follicles that weren't permanently destroyed. Some, they don't have a hair in it at the moment, and it only grows a hair when it's stimulated with hormones. So I hope that explains how we are even growing new hairs from new hair follicles, because we have so many. Let me move to the side and show you a picture of what my face is currently looking like where I'm due for a top up. So I've circled 5 hairs that personally bother me and that I would want removed in my next top up session. You can see I've circled 5 hairs. That's on one side. I haven't really looked at the other side, but there are approximately 5 to 10 hairs that I personally have treated a few times a year. It's not a lot at all. But for this reason, I cannot class electrolysis as completely permanent for someone who does have a hormonal imbalance like I do, because you could possibly need top-up sessions. Now, everyone's body is slightly different. You might not grow as much hair as I do. When I say as much hair, obviously, you might not grow 5 to 10 strands of hair. You might grow 1 to 3. You might not need it as often as I do, where it's a few times a year. You could possibly need it once a year. And again, even if you have a hormonal imbalance, you could possibly not even need, I have to say, possibly, may, I have to use these words so many times because everyone's body is so different. You could possibly not even need a maintenance sessions, but from my experience, the women who do have hormonal imbalances on this area where I treat and I specialise in, a lot of the time you are likely to need a little top-up session here and there. The results for electrolysis is still 100% worth it, because I went from having to pluck every few days, needing to carry tweezers in my handbag, needing to check the mirror every time I leave the house to see if there's any hairs that I can grab. On top of that, I used to wax maybe every 2 weeks or as often as I needed to. So it was like a daily / weekly thing that I needed to maintain. So I've gone from a young girl who used to do that to committing to electrolysis. Now, I don't know if you remember, but I gave electrolysis a chance, gave up on it, tried laser. IPL laser made things a lot more worse for me, and then I had to go back to electrolysis and stick to it because that was my only solution at that point. It took a good 3 years to get the bulk of hair removed and that final result, because I had like so many hair follicles were stimulated with using all of these methods that didn't work for me. Yeah, I committed to it. Yes, it was a long time, but I am finally, and have been finally, at a place where I only have to worry about facial hair a few times a year, and I've loved electrolysis so much that it sounds like I've been having electrolysis my entire life, but it's just because I'm now moving on to other areas where I would want a little bit of hair removed just to make myself feel a little bit better. So I've done the abdomen, which I need to do an update on. I had laser on the top lip, but I'm finishing it off with electrolysis. Same with the underarms, I'm having that finished off with electrolysis. So the next top-up session I book, it's just a top-up for all of these areas that I'm having done now. It's also important for me to talk about the root cause of the problem. So I personally don't take medication for my PCOS. I'm not treating the root cause of the problem. I'm only treating whatever sprouts out of my chin a few times a year. I used to take medication when I first got diagnosed with PCOS in 2014. I was recommended to take the pill to regulate my periods. Whether it helped with my hair growth or not, that is debatable. And I did that for about a year and then I stopped. I personally didn't like the side effects of the pill. I know that there are different types. I didn't really give any other types a chance. I just didn't want to take that for the rest of my life, so I decided to stop. It's a very personal choice. When I stopped taking that, I got a new batch of hair that grew through in the middle of my electrolysis journey. But appropriate, maybe is the right word to say. I feel like it's appropriate for me to say, if you're not treating the root of the problem, you are going to experience these maintenance sessions. So I'm not the best person to even make this point, but I need to let you know that yes, the root cause is the imbalance in hormones, and if you're not doing anything about it, I wasn't really recommended a huge amount. Personally, I feel like, yeah, just take the pill and that will sort out your periods, okay. It didn't really help as much as I mentioned. If you are able to get better help than I did, then you could possibly not need maintenance session and take the medication to balance these hormones and treat the root cause of the problem from the inside. So the combination of treating your hormones from the inside and then having electrolysis together is most likely the most effective solution to it. But yeah, I am here saying, yeah, I don't take medication. I've had electrolysis. It's given me very long-lasting results, but I am going to need ongoing maintenance sessions as my hormones fluctuate, which happens to be a few times a year. Just a reminder, the hairs that are growing through as your hormones fluctuate, they are new hairs growing from follicles that weren't treated before. The treatment that I've had on any area of my body where I've had electrolysis done, those follicles are permanently destroyed. Those follicles aren't going to grow hair in it again. But of course, looking at how many follicles you actually have per centimetre on your body, it is a lot to target. And you can only target those follicles if a hair is growing out of it, because we're not going to know where to put, I just grabbed the first thing, we're not going to know where to put the needle in unless the hair is growing out of it, because we then can't see the hair follicles. It's not like laser where you shave and the laser hits all of the hair follicles, if that makes sense. I think it would be really helpful if you do have a hormonal imbalance. Please comment down below how often you have a maintenance session, for how many minutes, roughly how many hairs, just so we can see how different people are. I hope that you understand what I mean when I say electrolysis is not classed as permanent when you have a hormonal imbalance. It's just because you're growing new hairs in the area. I hope you like the video and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.